All right, guys, sorry for cutting off on the last one. I just didn't want to rush reference angles. I want to spend a minute talking about them because we're going to be using these to help us tomorrow. So what a reference angle is it basically gives you something in the first quadrant to reference to. So you don't have to necessarily know all these three quadrants, you just have to know how to reference them back to quadrant one. So basically all we need to know is how far away we are from our x-axis. How far away we are from our x-axis. So if you're in quadrant one, whatever your angle is, like let's say it was 30 degrees. That's in quadrant one, that is your reference angle. So in quadrant one, it is whatever your angle is. And that's radians or degrees, okay, if you're in quadrant one. If you're in quadrant two, again, you want your distance from that x-axis. So all you have to do here is say, well, take the 180 and subtract out my angle. Take the 180, subtract out my angle. Now, I will tell you it's either 180 or pi. So if you're in terms of radians, you want to do pi minus your angle. Okay, pi minus your angle. So let's say, 90. Let's say we were at 170, right? 170. Our reference angle would be 10 degrees, right? Because I'm 10 degrees away from that axis. Okay. Here, if you're in quadrant three, so let's say 200. So if we were at 200 degrees, we are 20 away from that axis. So our reference angle would be 20 degrees. Again, your formula is theta minus 180 or theta minus pi. So if you're in terms of radians or degrees, depends on which one you use. And then the last one, again, all the way around is 360. So let's say we had like 330. We're 30 away. All right, 360 minus 330 gets me 30 away. My reference angle would be 30. So your reference angle should always come back to quadrant one. You're referring back to quadrant one. So again, 360 is 2 pi radians minus your angle. So if you're in degrees, use 360. If you're in radians, use 2 pi. So let's put this to work. All right, so this one is 210 degrees. 210 degrees, let's talk about where that's located. So we're at 90, 180, 270, so we're somewhere in here. We're somewhere in here. So we want to know how long it takes to get to that x-axis. So we're going to say 210 minus 180, and we're going to be left with 30 degrees. So 30 degrees is my reference angle, puts me back in quadrant one. So I can refer to a 30-degree angle in quadrant one. 7 pi over 4, so radians are a little bit harder, so let's talk about dividing this up into radians. We already know this is 0, we know this is pi, and we know all the way around is 2 pi, right? Well, from here to here, from 0 to 90 is half of that. So if this is pi, this would be half of pi. And then here to 2 pi, this will be 3 pi over 2. So just so you have some reference of your radians, how they work, how they divvy up. We know the 0, 90, 180, 270, 360, but just looking at those radians. So 7 pi over 4, well, this is 6 pi over 4, right? 6 pi over 4. So we're a little bit more than that, so we're actually going to be in quadrant 4. We're going to be in quadrant 4. So when you're in quadrant 4, you do 360, or since we're in radians, we're going to do 2 pi minus 7 pi over 4. Now let's get a common denominator. So this will be 8 pi over 4 minus 7 pi over 4, and you get pi over 4. And that'll bring us back around to the first quadrant. Our reference angle will be pi over 4. Negative 240, let's go ahead and make this positive. So we're going to add 360. Let's find that coterminal angle. So if we add 360, we're going to get 120. So it's the same as 120 degrees. It's coterminal, coterminal with 120 degrees. So here we're at 90, 180, we're somewhere in here. Somewhere in here. Again, you could have found that with negative 240 as well. Negative 90, negative 180, negative 270, it's somewhere in there. So we're here. Let's, we want to know our distance from 180. So if we're at 120, we're 60 away. So 180 minus 120 is 60 away. And again, 60 puts us back in that first quadrant. There's our reference angle. So you do have to remember coterminal and reference. So coterminal, just add or subtract 360 or 2 pi as many times as you want. Should have the same endpoint. A reference angle puts you back in quadrant 1, refers you back to quadrant 1. Here, 3.6, notice there's no degree symbol. This is radians. Yikes, right? Yikes. 3.6, where's that? Well, let's look. This is 0. This is pi, which is 3.14. This is half a pi. We definitely don't want that. This was 3 pi over 2, so 3 times pi, and then divide by 2. You get 4.71-ish. Again, just getting roundabout so we see where we're at. Looks like we're in quadrant 3 with this one. So we're in quadrant 3. So quadrant 3, we're going to do our angle minus pi. So 3.6 minus pi. And you can just type in your calculator 3.6 minus 3.14 or hit the pi button. Either way. So 3.6 minus 3.14 gets me 0.46. 0.46 is my reference angle back in. And again, 0.46, so 3.14 divided by 2, this is 1.57 up here. So from 0 to 1.57, we're back in that first quadrant. Last but not least, sometimes, again, you have to use those, if you're over 360, use those coterminal angles to get back on that 0 to 360. Okay, so if we're at 665, we're going to subtract 360 to find our coterminal angle, and we get 305. And now we can do it just like we did all the other ones. 90, 180, 270, 360, right? We're somewhere in here. So we take 360 minus 305, and we find out the distance back to that x-axis is 55 degrees, which would be my reference angle. Here, 15 pi over 4, we're talking radians, so we can add or subtract 2 pi. Let's go ahead and subtract 2 pi. So 2 pi is 8 pi over 4. If you subtract it, you get 7 pi over 4. Sorry. And to be honest, you could even subtract it again. I lied too far. So we subtracted, we got 7 pi over 4. 7 pi over 4, remember this was pi, 3 pi over 2, which is 6 pi over 4. 7 pi over 4 is a little bit more. So we're in quadrant 3. So remember on this one, you did 2 pi minus 7 pi over 4. So it's 8 pi over 4 minus 7 pi over 4, and you get pi over 4. So we are pi over 4 away from that x-axis. There's my reference angle. On this one, it looks like I'm going to be adding some. So to find our coterminal angle, we have negative 11 pi over 3. And we're going to add 6 pi over 3. Right? Add 2 pi. And you get negative 5 pi over 3. Well, do it again. Add 6 pi over 3. And you get 1 pi over 3. And that's actually in our first quadrant. So pi over 3 is somewhere in here. All right, if this is pi over 2, that's half a pi. A third is less of that. A third is less than that. So we're in quadrant 1. When you're in quadrant 1, your angle is your reference angle. All right, that's it for today. Bye, guys.